filtered in. No time for that doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win. Yeah. Refuse. Mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like Toby, keep on running, toes they gon' take them. Refuse to lose, built to win, apply myself, I felt it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win. Yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win, apply myself, I felt it in. No time for that doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win. Yeah. Refuse.
Welcome back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back with another episode, man. And today, we're going to be previewing the games for today and tomorrow. I got 5 games coming at y'all, so you're going to look out for that. And you know, we gotta do our poll talk, man. The polls have been updated, and I actually got some pushback with the polls. So let's just jump right into it. The new polls have been released, and to no one's surprise, Arizona is still number 1 in the country, one of the last 2 undefeated teams. So shout out to them for that. No discourse there. Michigan being 2, no discourse there. They're streaking. They're 22-1, so they have one of the best records in the country as well. So I ain't got no discourse there with Michigan. Houston at 3 at 21-2 after beating BYU out on the road. They're also streaking. Their only Big 12 loss is to Texas Tech. I can't remember who their other loss is to. No, it wasn't UCF. That's Big 12. Their other loss is to Tennessee, which was a close game back in November in the Players Era Festival. So I'm not mad at Houston being number 3. At 4, we have Duke. This is where I have a problem. How does Duke lose a game and don't at least drop 1 spot? How does Iowa State not jump Duke? And here's why. Iowa State, they had 1 bad week, right? They had a week where they lost to, I believe, Kansas. And they lost to Kansas and Cincinnati on the road, right? Both road games. Now they have won 5 straight. They both have the same record. And Duke just took a L. Duke has to drop. It don't have to be by much. I don't care if it's by a little bit. I don't care if it's by 1. They have the same record, and Duke just lost. I just feel like Duke shouldn't have stayed at 4. If it was another university who did something like that, they would have dropped. But it's because it's the name. That's why they want them to stay in the top 5. Which I would have been cool with Duke being at 5 and Iowa State at 4. But you dropped UConn 3 spots, excuse me. You dropped UConn, first of all, from 2 to 3 without even losing the game. Then they lose to St. John. They're at number 6. They dropped 3 spots, while St. John, they've been streaking on their own. And St. John moved up to 17. But St. John has now won 9 straight. And the loss for UConn was on the road. So it's just clear inconsistency with the rankings. I feel like Duke should at least drop 1 spot, at the very least. Maybe even 2. I get Duke has been one of the best teams in the country, but you lose, you drop. That's normally how it goes. So for sure, should have dropped. So not shout out the committee. I just don't believe the committee got that one. Well, the rankings, however the ranking system goes, I think it's computers for real. That one wasn't right. Now, next, we got Iowa State at 5. Obviously, that's what I was just ranting about. 6 at UConn, as I just spoiled. 7th is Nebraska. See, and this is where inconsistency lies, because Nebraska lost to Illinois in the week. They beat Rutgers, which Rutgers is slumming. Now, granted, we almost lost to them, but they're slumming. And Nebraska moved up 2 spots. So I don't get the logic here. I really don't. 8 is Illinois, and we'll talk about that in a second because I just don't feel like Illinois should be in front of Michigan State, even though Michigan State dropped another game. 9 is Kansas, which I don't think Kansas should be in front of Michigan State either, but I will give Kansas the benefit of the doubt. They are on a 7-game win streak, so that's kind of hard to argue. And 10 is Michigan State. Now, here's why I don't think Illinois at the least should be in front of Michigan State, because Michigan State is in front of UNC because of what? Head-to-head. Illinois and Michigan State have the same record. They're both 20-4. Now, Illinois is what? Half a game, maybe a game in front of Michigan State. They are a game in front of Michigan State. But same record. Michigan State won the head-to-head. Michigan State, in my opinion, should be ranked above them. Because, again, I think that's why we're ranked above UNC. But anyway, 11 is UNC. 12 is Gonzaga, which I'm not mad at them dropping 6 spots for getting dominated wire-to-wire by University of Portland. Now, I don't know if it was a full wire-to-wire domination, but I do know that it was. If Gonzaga had the lead, it was not for long. So I'm not mad there for them dropping to 12. Purdue drops to 13 after struggling to beat Oregon. And I want to say they lost the game this week. I'm not 100% sure on that. No, they beat the dog out of Maryland, not Sunday, yesterday, but 2 Sundays ago. So their only game this week, they struggled against Oregon. So I'm not mad at them dropping for that. Florida moves up to 14. Definitely salute to them. Dominating Texas A&M. I can't remember who they dominated, but they're now first in the SEC. Not mad at that. I love that there. Virginia's at 15. That is cool. Texas Tech drops to 16. I don't think they deserve to drop 3 spots to lose because they lost to Kansas at home while they had a late scratch in Christian Anderson, which is one of their best players, and Darren Peterson actually played the second half. I don't think that's 3 spots of a drop worthy, but they dropped. 17 to St. John. They spots. Again, they've won 9 straight now, including beating UConn at home. So I love that there. St. Louis has moved up to 18. Vanderbilt is dropped to 19. They did lose a game to Oklahoma, which Oklahoma's at like the bottom of the SEC. They only dropped 1 spot for that, though. I felt like that's kind of crazy. I feel like Clemson should be in front of them. They should be in front of Arkansas, but maybe drop 2 spots. Speaking of, Clemson is 20. Arkansas stays at 21. BYU dropped 6 spots to 22. Miami of Ohio stays at 23, the second undefeated of the 2 undefeated teams in the country. And Louisville's at 24. They don't go anywhere. And Kentucky moves into 25, knocking out Tennessee, which they deserve that. I mean, you swept Tennessee on the season. You came back both times in your house and in their house. They deserve to take Tennessee's spot. But again, they took that spot head-to-head. That's why I'm not understanding. But it is what it is. Now, some teams that received some votes. Bama, I don't know about that one. Not going to lie. I don't think this week alone puts Bama in the top 25 or at least receiving most of the votes. Yes, they beat Auburn on the road. Yes, they beat Texas A&M, who was in first place at the time. But I don't think so. Iowa, maybe. I think NC State probably should have been the lead vote getter for the 26th spot. NC State's been playing really good ball. We'll talk about them later. Tennessee, Villanova, et cetera, et cetera. But I've aired out my grievances. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. But yeah, man, I just Duke should at least fill at least 1 to 2 spots. At least you lost. Granted, you led for most of the game, but you lost. That's what tends to happen. I don't think Illinois should be ranked in front of Michigan State. They lost. They head-to-head. We have the same record. I get it. They're a game in front of us in the Big Ten. I get that. But I think rankings most will go head-to-head over that. So is what it is. But let me know, like I said, let me know what y'all think. We're going to move on to the preview for today's and tomorrow's games. We got 2 games today, 3 games tomorrow. We're going to start with NC State at Louisville. Louisville, again, ranked 24th in the country. This game is 7 o'clock on ESPN today. It's Big Monday. So NC State is led by Darion Williams, averaging 14.7 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 3 assists per game, and 1 steal. Quadir Copeland, averaging 14 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 7 assists, and 1.9 steals. And Van Allen Lubin, averaging 13.3 points per game and 7 rebounds per game. Now, the X factor for me is going to be Matt Abel coming off the bench and scoring, averaging 8.2 points per game off the bench because Louisville can score the rock. So I think Matt Abel is going to be big in this one to help NC State pull off the upset. Now for Louisville, they're led by Ryan Conwell, averaging 18.4 points per game. 4.9 rebounds and 1.3 steals per game. Michael Brown Jr. averaging 15.4 points per game, 5.3 assists per game, and Isaac McNeely averaging 11.7 points per game. And their X factor to me is going to be Javon Hadley with his scoring and rebounding ability, averaging 10.5 points per game and 5.1 rebounds per game. I think he's going to be big there, helping them score because NC State also can score the ball. And I did see that Quadir Copeland is averaging he has the most assisted buckets to a three. So I'm trying to phrase that. He has the most passes led to a three. So assists leading to 3-point shots. He leads the country in that. He had I think double digits of those in the win against SMU. So Javon Hadley's scoring ability is going to definitely help counteract the 3-point shooting if NC State gets hot from three. But my winner, I'm going to go with Louisville again because NC State's unranked. They're coming into Louisville in the Yum Center, which is a tough place to play. And like I said, man, Louisville does well against unranked teams. Against ranked teams, not so much. So I'm going to keep rolling with Louisville against unranked teams until they prove me wrong otherwise. And it's not to say that NC State can't complete the upset because they have the ability to do so. Will Wade is a good coach, and he has a talented group of guys around him. But I'm just rolling with the fact that it's tough to beat Louisville if you're not a ranked team. So I'm going to take Louisville in this one, and we're going to move on to number 1 ranked Arizona versus number 9 ranked Kansas for the game of the night, possibly game of the week tonight on ESPN at 9 o'clock. Kansas is actually 2.5-point home dogs at Lawrence, Kansas tonight in the Island Fieldhouse, which is crazy. I did hear from somewhere. I heard actually from the 520 podcast that Kansas is supposed to be undefeated at home on Big Monday, but Arizona's undefeated, period. So should be a great game today. Arizona is led by Cole Pete, averaging 14.6 points per game, 5.6 rebounds. Jaden Bradley averaging 13.8 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 1.8 steals. And Braden Burry is averaging 15.3 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, and 1.6 steals per game. The X factor to me is going to be Matiunas Krevas with his paint protection, averaging 1.8 blocks per game and his rebounding because Kansas have bigs of their own in Floyd Badunga and Bryson Tiller, who also is really good scorers and can score. Well, Bryson Tiller is the more versatile scorer, but Dunga is the guy with the motor who cleans up rebounds and gets you extra chance, second chance opportunities and things like that. So I think Krivas is going to be big in that aspect. Now, Kansas is led by Darren Peterson. Darren Peterson is averaging 20.5 points per game, 4.2 rebounds, and 1.3 steals. Floyd Badunga, who I really love, averaging 14.6 points per game, 8.9 rebounds, and 2.8 blocks. He plays the game in the way that I love players to play the game, just all motor, heart, battle, fight. He don't quit, and he's going to give you his all on the floor, and I love players that play like that. And Melvin Council Jr. averaging 13.7 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, and 5.1 assists per game. Now, the X factor to me is going to be Bryson Tiller because Arizona has a bevy of bigs. They got Cole Pete. They got Krivas. They got Toby Owaka. They got guys that can rotate in and out the game. So Bryson Tiller and Floyd Badunga is going to be big in this one. That's why I have Bryson Tiller as my X factor, helping Badunga with rebounding and paint protection, averaging 6 rebounds per game and 1.3 blocks. But in this one, I think Arizona remains undefeated. Now, here's why. One, again, I know he's played the second half the last 2 games. I just don't know if I can continue to bet on Darren Peterson. And not bet in the literal sense, but figuratively speaking, bet on Darren Peterson to continuously play these second halves. I don't know if I can do that quite yet. Yes, he's done it the last 2 games. Can he continuously do it? Remains to be seen. So that's one aspect too. Again, Arizona, road or home, they're undefeated, period. And they played well. Now the BYU game, they were up big, tried to give it away late. Brandon Burry helped erase them trying to give it away with the block at the end of the game on Rob Wright and knocking down 2 free throws. But Arizona, for the most part, really dominated that game. They really ran off with it before BYU rallied back. And I get Kansas on the 7-game win streak, and they have beaten some good teams. Don't get me wrong, but I think the best win in the 7-game win streak is what? BYU, possibly? Yeah, I think it's BYU. So, well, I don't know if the Iowa State win is a part of that 7-game win streak. If it is, then it's Iowa State. But Iowa State then lost to Cincy. And it just seemed like Iowa State that we just had a bad week. So, 2 win streaks on the line. I'm going to go with the more consistent win streak of 23 over 7. So, give me Arizona. I know it's going to be a tough environment for Arizona to go in and win in Long Island Fieldhouse. It's going to be rocking. But I think Arizona escapes with the dub And we move on to the 3 games I got for y'all Tuesday. First game bringing 13th ranked Purdue at 7th ranked Nebraska, 7 o'clock on FS1 on Tuesday. So tomorrow. Now, Purdue comes into this one as 1.5 point road dogs. Nebraska is 1.5 point home favorites. Purdue, is led by Braden Smith, which I ain't gonna lie, man. I watched Braden Smith Saturday. He was kind of struggling against Oregon. I can't lie. But he's averaging 15.2 points per game, 3.7 rebounds per game, 8.7 assists per game, and 1.8 steals. Trey Kaufman-Wren averaging 12.7 points per game, 8.3 rebounds per game, and Fletcher Lawyer averaging 13.4 points per game. X factor to me is going to be CJ Cox. They're going to need some scoring from other guys, and I think CJ Cox is going to have to step up at the guard position to add more scoring, averaging 8 points per game. I think this is going to be a game where he needs to step up. Now for Nebraska, they're led by Rick Mast, averaging 14.7 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and 3 assists per game. Sam Hoiberg averaging 9.5 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 4.3 assists, and 2 steals per game. And Price Sanford averaging 17.1 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and 1.1 steals. Now, I think my X factor is going to be Braden Frager, who's been coming off the bench. He's averaging 12.2 off the bench, so he's going to be big, bringing in bench scoring for Nebraska, counteracting guys like Braden Smith, CJ Cox possibly, and Fletcher Lawyer's 3-point shooting ability. So if he can bring that the buckets off the bench, getting that crowd really involved when guys like Sam Hoiberg or maybe Jamarcus Lawrence or guys like that are maybe resting, that'd be huge for Nebraska in Nebraska. And I'm going to actually roll with Nebraska at home. Why? Because I think Nebraska losses are to Michigan, who's rolling, Illinois, who was on a 12-game win streak, and I can't remember the last loss they had, but they've been losing to some teams that were on a roll. And the Michigan loss was by 3 points on the road, and you didn't have Rick Mast or Braden Frager. So that was, for them to be in that game was big in itself. While Purdue, to me, has been struggling to, in my honest opinion, Purdue has not been the Purdue that's dominating, beating teams that they should be by big point spreads. They kind of been struggling. They've been getting dubs, don't get me wrong, but I don't see the dominance of Purdue I have in the past. So I think Nebraska gets this one at home, man. So I'm gonna roll with Nebraska. Next, we have UNC, 11th ranked North Carolina, coming off a big win against Duke, taking on Miami University in Florida. 7 o'clock on ESPN tomorrow. Now, UNC, they're led by Caleb Wilson, averaging 20.2 points per game, 9.6 rebounds per game. As my battery says, I got 30% left. I didn't think I was that low. 1.6 steals per game and 1.3 blocks. Henry Vazar, who had a big second half, while Caleb Wilson had a huge first half, 16.6 points per game, 9.1 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game. And Seth Trimble, who hit the game winner, averaging 14.2 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, and 1.3 steals per game. Now, my X factor is going to be Luka Bonovich, scoring off the bench. He's averaging 9.7 points per game off the bench. I think it's going to be big because Miami does have a tendency to score a bunch of points. So I think Luka's 3-point shooting, which he's been hot from 3 lately, is going to be big for UNC. Now, Miami, they're led by Malik Renal, transfer from Indiana, averaging 20 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game. Trey Donaldson averaging 15.9 points per game, 3.6 rebounds per game, 6.2 assists, and 1.3 steals. And True Washington, who's actually questionable for this game, did not play against Boston College. When I looked at the injury, it said undisclosed, but he is questionable. He's averaging 11.9 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, and 1.9 steals per game. Their X factor to me is going to be Ernest Udo Jr. because North Carolina is led by their front court, Vazar and Caleb Wilson. He's going to be big in paint protection with Vazar. I think he's going to be on Vazar and rebounding. He's averaging 9.6 rebounds per game and 1.3 blocks. I think he's going to be with one on Vazar, and I think he needs to stay out of foul trouble to help with that. But my winner is UNC, man, just because I love Malik Renal. I think Malik Renal is a good player. Caleb Wilson is going to be tough to handle for Renal, man. And I think Renal is a really good defender as well, but I think he's just going to be tough to handle. Caleb Wilson is tough for any guy in college to handle, and I think he's going to be tough for this Miami team to handle. And then you pair that with Vazar, you pair that with Stevenson, Seth Trimble. He's actually adding on to the offensive end this year. I just think UNC is just going to be a little too much for Miami. Now, I do like Trey Donaldson. I love how he runs the team, and then he can get his own at times, but I just think UNC is going to be a little bit too much even on the road. against Miami, who shout out to Miami for having a great resurgence this year after last, 2 years, man, it was bad. So shout out to them for their resurgence, but give me UNC. In the last game we have is Wisconsin coming off that devastating loss, which I think they got robbed. I don't think that was a foul on John Blackwell at the end of the game that sent Lamar Wilkinson to the line shooting 2 to win the game. I felt like Lamar Wilkinson flopped. He couldn't go nowhere. He was locked up. He was clamped and just threw the ball up, and he got the foul call. But they're taking on Illinois, who also lost a heartbreaker in overtime against my Spartans. So Illinois is 11.5-point home favorites. They get some home cooking after losing on the road. This game is 8 o'clock tomorrow on Peacock. So make sure you tune in if you can. Now, Wisconsin, they're led by John Blackwell, averaging 18.5 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, and 1.3 steals. Nick Boyd averaging 20 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, and 3.7 assists. And Nolan Winter averaging 14.3 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game. Their X factor, who's questionable to me, is Austin Rapp. Austin Rapp is the X factor in my opinion, which I don't know why my banners just did what they did, but we'll move forward. Austin Rapp is the X factor to me because with Illinois is the tallest, the biggest team in the country. So they're going to need all the size they could get in that front court to help with the Thomas Law brothers, Merkovich, and guys like that. So even though Merkovich ain't a big, but he's tall. So they have one of the tallest teams. They have, I think I saw the tallest team in the country, which I thought it would be the Michigan, but I saw it was Illinois. So you need all the length you can get. Now, Illinois, they're led by Keaton Wagler. Shout out to against Mississippi State. I got to get my shots off. We won, and Michigan and Illinois fans crying on Twitter. But they're led by Keaton Wagler. He's still a great player. Just had a rough night in the press. 17.8 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, and 4.2 assists. Andrei Stojakovic averaging 13.7 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and David Merkovich averaging 12.6 points per game, 8.1 rebounds per game. Now, I like Jake Davis as my X factor, doing the dirty work, grabbing loose balls, setting screens, hitting open threes, just doing the dirty work, man. I think he's going to be big for them against the Wisconsin team who can score at the guard position. But I'm ultimately rolling with Illinois, man. I think that size is going to irritate Wisconsin all day long. Blackwell is going to probably try to penetrate, get to the rim, see that size at the rim, maybe pull up for middies, maybe retreat, things like that. Nick Boyd probably won't test the trees like that, while Illinois can go into the Thomas Law brothers. Thomas Law brothers can play on the perimeter, as in shoot the three. I ain't talking about handling the rock, but they can shoot the three on the perimeter, things like that. Merkovich, he can play with the rock. He can handle the rock. Keaton Wagler, he can score from anywhere on the court. So I like Illinois to come out with the victory on this one. And with that being said, that is all the games I have for y'all tonight. So make sure y'all enjoy this Big Monday and Tuesday. And let's do some house cleaning because this is a network. So please like, comment, share, subscribe to this channel. And if you like what you're listening to, stick with me. But we also have other shows like The Main Show featuring Joe Tomo and Dave, which I will be a part of today. But they go live on Mondays and Thursdays at 7 o'clock to about 8:30ish. We have Unfazed featuring Joe and AJ. They will be talking about the Super Bowl and then possibly pivoting to the NBA. You catch them when you catch them. There's no set time and date anymore for that show. We have BWT Baseball with Teddy, which the World Baseball Classic actually starts in March. I think I said in February. It starts in March from what I was told now. Shout out to Teddy for telling me that. So make sure y'all stay tuned with him. We have FFC Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs. The NFL is now officially over, so just stay tuned for whatever content he gives you. We have RBO Real Ballers Only featuring Vaughn. The trade deadline is now over with. My Pistons play the Hornets, who are red hot. The Hornets have won 9 straight games, and I don't care. We better not lose to the Hornets. Next, we have Dave's Doghouse, highlights and lowlights of sport. And last but not least, we have In the Red Corner, boxing show featuring Ty, Ricky, and Tomo. They go live on Sundays, not every Sunday, but when they do go live, it is on Sundays, and they go live from 6:30. They start to go live around 6:30, 7 o'clock. So make sure y'all tune into those shows, like, comment, share, subscribe to those as well. And if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. And that's all I have for y'all today. And until possibly Wednesday, because y'all know sometimes I don't find enough games to talk about. So maybe Wednesday, maybe Friday, maybe even Saturday. I will see y'all next time. I'm gone. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.